Simplifiers is the podcast that cuts through the complexity of digital transformation to reveal what works. Created by Solteq, hosted by Amel Gaily, and built for anyone who believes clarity beats complexity every time. This episode dives into the role of product data in shaping customer experience and trust. Our guest, Hanna-Mari Saurama, shares how data has evolved from basic specs to a strategic asset, driving transparency, responsibility, and differentiation, especially in the Nordic retail market.
Welcome, Hanna-Mari.
Thanks.
Okay, let's jump right in and start with bridging the connection between product data and how it becomes a part of product experience.
Yes, product data, I see that as a lot of tiny little elements that are collected, usually by individuals, different parts of the company who is either producing stuff or selling things. They try to gather information about their products. It's not, or it hasn't been, maybe seen as a very meaningful task. It's just collecting items and not necessarily thinking where that data is even useful or needed. And that leads to having maybe something missing or maybe mistakes and gaps that would be relevant for someone else maybe. Whereas then the product experience I see as the target of this product data. Product experience is the part where we use this data to create good service, better choices in product selection, everything that consumers or customers or whoever is sort of the target group of that product sort of will then experience in the future when using the product. So that's sort of the one is the element of this wide spectrum of sort of needs.
Exactly. So product data actually is the foundation for this whole omnichannel consistency.
I see it as that because if the data is missing, it's very hard to create good experiences because you're either making them up or just missing something out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And customers do expect accuracy, context, usability.
I would hope so.
Yes.
That's my ideal.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's always like that. I want to assume, and we need to also be better at it in the future.
Yeah.
So now maybe someone is working with a maybe limited amount of data, but they will definitely need it for the future.
Exactly, yeah.
No?
Let's talk a little bit about this evolvement a little bit more. So Hanna-Mari, you've said that product data has evolved from this kind of information management to experience management. So can we talk a little bit about what this shift really means in practice?
It means that maybe product data was first collected when the sort of online stores started. Like we only needed maybe the color and some sizing for the products. But now when sort of everything is happening online and we have this service offering, no matter if it's in the shops or in the online stores or for customer service later on, we do need to have a more extended version of the product details that we earlier maybe managed only with the price tag and the sort of small amount of details.
Yeah.
So the more we sort of expand these different channels, the more we also need to offer and create this sort of content and information, bits of information.
Exactly. Now, if we think of kind of the reality of retail data, the scale is actually very complex. So from what you've seen, how do you balance between standardization and then individuality across, thousands of products and brands?
I think the difficulty is that each company starts to somewhere on their own and then figures out that, okay, there are a lot of retailers who are sort of thinking the same thing, but with a different logic. So everyone is collecting their sort of ideal way, maybe the product data, but then it doesn't match together. And it causes a lot of work when a certain manufacturer, for example, wants to collaborate with several retailers. They do a lot of work to sort of align with the with the product data and so on. So there is definitely need, and the standardization is the sort of key to manage all of that.
Yeah.
And that's why we have systems created, like PIM systems, used for product data that helps a bit, but there's still sort of a lot of need for optimizing or sort of reducing this extra workload to sort of be able to match these different sort of ways of providing basically the same things, but in a different wording, or it's the Excel war,
Exactly.
I call,
Yeah, because I can't help kind of thinking of just the sheer volume. If we think of a doesn't even have to be one of the massive online stores, but even like a mid-sized online store. So kind of it can be millions of items with seasonal changes and you know, cross-category updates and these.
It is, and there might be optimal ways of doing it, but my experience is that no matter how brilliant and glamorous the front looks like, there's a lot of manual work behind it.
Yeah.
And the working hours and the curse words and the sort of the annoyance of doing things over and over again and remembering to correct the mistakes that you've seen somewhere before. So there's still a lot to be improved.
Yeah.
And yes, you're right. It's a constant work. It's nothing that we're done and never let's move to the next subject. It's something like the optimizing the content and the details and being secure that there's no mistakes. That's a sort of task for forever.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk a little bit about data accuracy, because as we mentioned, you know, the ripple effects can actually be quite a big if there's a mistake in pricing or logistics or something like that. Are there any examples that come to your mind?
At least to me, I've always been fond of like just showing as much information as you have, because there's like a little piece of information that you think that no one will use.
Yeah.
And I remember that in my previous work, I used to work for a home appliance manufacturer for a long time. And there was this constant debate on, we have so much these technical details. Do we show it all? Why? Who needs this type of information? And then someone made the choice of taking something out. And literally, like at least within the next week, someone was asking,
Really?
Where's that information? Because the competitor is showing this information and I can't find it anymore.
Yeah.
So you can never know beforehand who needs it. Because in these kind of cases, it can be determining factor which product you choose. And if you need that little detail, it could sort of lean to the direction who sort of is able to give the certain fact. So that's my sort of, I don't know if that answers to your question, but this is sort of like my feeling that never leave anything unsaid, basically.
Yeah.
Show it all.
Exactly. I think it's a wonderful example. And especially in terms of a kind of retail experience or an online experience, you cannot assume which piece of information is most critical for the buyer at that moment. Yeah. What about pricing errors?
I haven't been the one solving them, but I've been the one sort of also as a customer, like being just amazed how complex the pricing is made.
Yeah.
The campaigns, how you create discounts, how companies do actually manage that. I've been sort of discovering errors that I've just sort of let someone else to handle. I can't answer how it was solved later on, but you can imagine when these kind of errors do happen and the systems are quite sort of intertwined to each other, like who is the final one to sort of even the sort of the prices out and sort of let's go. There can be big mistake as well, so it's a hard topic.
Yes, definitely. Well, you mentioned that the tension between, you know, brand storytelling and retailer standardization exists. How does that show up in practice?
Well, this comment was probably based also on my own like past experiences on that I realized how much effort there is behind each and every brand.
Yeah.
There's like many people, a lot of effort is put into, you know, showing the perfect brand with the ideal set of explanations why this product is better than the other, and sort of comparing products, but only within your own brand maybe.
Yeah.
But then when you're put into a retail store who is selling 10 or 100 products from different brands, you sort of are lost in that sea of products. And this is also something that we are sort of working with a lot, that what are the sort of key factors that make you stand out? Of course, the brand reputation is one, and that's very, so if you're there in the row and you have a certain brand, that's one thing, but you also need to be very consistent, always delivering exact, correct information, because, just trying to give the best answers to in each of these sort of places where your product might end up. And that's difficult because the brand, for example, can't sort of judge or be there to guide each store to how to present the products and so on. So it's also a sort of quite wide topic.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it makes me kind of think of the, in a way, paradox between retailers needing and wanting comparability, because that's what consumers ultimately want, but then the need for a brand to want differentiation and to stand out.
Yeah, it is. And the retail, they can't sell 10 dishwashers, for example, to one consumer.
Yeah.
So they need to have some kind of image, or if there's a retail guy or if it's an online store, like what is his or the shop's sort of ideal product for this consumer. And that is where sort of training for this sales guy or the content of this store sort of plays a role. And particularly when talking about product information, if it's an online store, you need a very thorough, detailed information so that the consumer can then make the choice, comparing the products and then sort of finding the solution that they would maybe prefer.
Yeah. Do you see a risk involved in kind of the risk in flattening a brand's value through this over-standardization?
I think the problem is that you're sharing your products to your retailers, and then sort of caring for your babies, and then maybe the retailer doesn't appreciate you enough. So they maybe put you on sale like the next week that your nice new product has arrived, or they're preferring another, like, you know, it's a competition, and that, or you're just there fighting for your spot in the very vast product range. So in that sense, yes. So like there needs to be this kind of collaboration, like a really strict collaboration with your retailers, so that you are able to highlight the facts that are not then dumped the next day, like forgotten because the next brand arrived and they showed us this that sort of seemed even more valuable. You need to realize that you sort of need to fight for your values in a way.
Exactly. I think that's a very fair point to kind of understand the other person's point of view or other stakeholders' point of view as well. Probably sums up is then finding the mutual benefits. And then I guess in this case, you know, better data can be equal to better visibility in some cases.
Yeah. And this leads, at least my thoughts, to sort of like how could like the manufacturers and the suppliers sort of cooperate together with retail to sort of create this optimal set of data and material and content that would sort of suit everyone. I've seen both cases. There are those, let's say, bad examples where the ball is thrown to the supplier. Please give us the data, and this is the format, and we want this, and make it today. And if you're not covering it correctly, then we'll gladly sell something else. But then better maybe way is to find some kind of collaboration. Like you give us your bit, and we try to also fix it somewhat ourselves and negotiate and sort of give hints. Work together to get the better, sort of the optimal result. Because as I mentioned, there's a lot of manual work. So of course the systems are getting better and will help. If the supplier doesn't at that moment have those helping hands, maybe the retailer can be a bit more flexible, and the other way around, that if you really want to be at that retailer, you need to do your effort and then find the solution how to make it happen. That is what I'm working daily with and hear a lot.
Yeah.
Like there's a need for better collaboration, definitely.
Yeah. I think that's very well said, and that's a really good point. Let's talk about responsibility and transparency, because I think it sounds like those could be, a way for someone or a company to build their competitive edge. So let's start with your point of view on how do you see responsibility?
I was thinking this in advance at home, and to me, the first step of responsibility is, no matter if you're a manufacturer or a retailer, like, are you proud of what you're doing?
Yeah.
It's a naive thought, but in a way, would you like to manufacture something that is not good quality?
Yeah.
And then also, on the other hand, do you want to sell the products that you're actually selling, or why are you selling the products that you're selling? Having the meaning or the purpose. And if the purpose is to have a cheap price or maybe good sustainability metrics, that's your thing. But that's sort of the first step of responsibility is, okay, this is what I'm happy with. And then the responsibility, for example, if I was a retailer, my responsibility would be to take care of the fact that I wouldn't sell anything that would be sort of harmful or dangerous, or of course like good quality with a decent price, like things like this. And each retailer needs to have these requirements set in their strategies.
Yeah.
But then it's maybe a bit of the consumers or customers' choice to make the adjustment. Okay, is this responsibility that I appreciate, or is there something else?
Yeah.
Of course, responsibility is then a lot of things, like legal things as well. Like you have responsibilities towards like legal dependencies and pricing and like these kind of responsibilities that are sort of in the background. But what is sort of responsibility towards consumers is, I think, also this able to be sort of proud what you're doing and not hide and be sort of just having backside thoughts.
Yeah. So I think that's an interesting angle. So in a way, you start kind of defining responsibility with actually the business values and the core of the way the business operates. Yeah. Because then be it cheap prices or maybe lower quality or then on the other hand, high quality and sustainability, those are then, it's up to the consumer, of course, to decide. But that is a responsible business from the business's point of view, as it is true to their values.
Yeah, and of course, I want to highlight here that, of course, my job is to sort of highlight these topics to our customers so that they realize that maybe they should talk more about these responsibilities or their strategies and sort of highlight the fact, at least when they're doing work to narrowing down their assortment because of these criteria that they feel that are necessary for the, let's say, end user, for example.
Yeah. Well, what about transparency? How does it translate into business value, or does it?
Yeah, of course it does. I think a good example would be that, for example, a company that like seems similar on all stages of where I sort of see them and confront them. So no matter if it would be like a store that I walk into, or if I know the manager of that company, or if I read their yearly report, like all those channels are relatable and sort of show the same thing basically. Because sometimes transparency is like also can be that you're very open about certain topics, but then you hear or see something totally different when you're exploring them from a different angle. So transparency is also sort of being aligned, being sort of proper in all these layers that you show to your whoever is working with you or hearing about you.
Exactly. Yeah. There's been talk about an EU product passport and the kind of traceability, the requirements that come with it. To a listener who hasn't heard of it, what is it and what's it about?
Digital product passport, I see it as a way of getting clear product information easier to consumers.
Yeah.
Basically, it means that depending on the product category or product type, but in the future or a bit further future, each product would have this kind of tag in them that would have a bit more deeper product information in them, either than just made of cotton kind of thing, but you would be able to see through that tag also information about how the product was produced, how it was transported, what were the raw materials, and how you should take care of the product, and also maybe if it's something that you could fix or maybe repair, also guidance to that, or user manuals, that kind of things. So basically, it should guide the user to maybe take better care of that product, but also be able to use it for longer. That's what it sort of tries to solve, the waste and maybe the ability to resell that product or at least reuse or recycle that product. So all this kind of information should be contained in that bit of information so that it would help whoever is then, for example, the next user or the recycling partner to work with that product later on.
I think the kind of upside and benefits of having all of this data built into one digital passport is really kind of impressive.
It is impressive, and I've tried to sort of follow up how the regulations develop, because it's sort of still a bit of an ongoing topic, at least with some of the industries. And I think the worry that is within like companies who sort of do see the deadline coming, that oh my God, we're in trouble. And it's a panic mode. Like we don't have anything. We don't even have this. So how could we ever going to build? Every time I sort of concentrate on this topic, it's actually not that bad. First, like cool down, take a sip of coffee, and start. Like the company should sort of start just seeing what they already have.
Exactly.
Because they should have this. Like they should know. Maybe it's the other person in the next building or the second floor or something, like who is actually working with raw materials. And the other person is, he's the logistics guy. He should know that. So just collecting these bits, it should actually make the work more interesting in a way, that you should sort of like, understand more about your products or your assortment. And then if you find that, okay, we're truly missing this part of this product life cycle information, then it would be maybe worth seeing too, because what the product passport is trying to accomplish is not only like, we put you to do it, but also understanding these value chains and sort of finding your spot in the value chain, but also maybe finding completely new ways of selling your products or reselling your products or getting benefits from it.
Yeah.
And maybe even some sustainable outcome is for your company as well, is you get that as a result.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's actually a comforting way to look at it as well, you know.
I'm sort of like an optimist.
Yeah.
Maybe I read only the parts where there's like, these are the positive outcomes that you will discover. Of course, there's a lot of struggle and like how to, like, will this be expensive for us if we need new systems? But I would say that you will manage, but just take the time and start sorting it out.
Yeah, very well said. And there, as you said, there's so much benefits to reap from that. And in a way, having these sustainability and ethics, they're even as, built-in data dimensions.
Yeah, and I would use like energy label, like the energy label that has been in use for several years as another example of this, that it was basically probably like what product passport will be, digital product passport will be now for the future. But the energy label was probably horrible for everyone because it required so much effort and what is the right way of calculating all these like values for like energy labels that, for example, again, an example of home appliances are using. But now we see that, we probably don't produce that many water consuming appliances or electricity consuming appliances anymore. but somehow we've adjusted to that. Someone is still disappointed, but it has had such a big effect to the business, but also to consumers, and also probably I don't know how the world would look like if we would use the products that we were using, let's say 20 years ago. If we compare these like values that the energy label is sort of fighting for and trying to sort of sort for us. There's no way out of this either. So let's try to take the best out of it, I would say.
Yeah. It's always the moment before the change and actually during the change when it is the most painful. And it becomes business as usual after that. Well, let's talk about data culture and courage. From your point of view, what can companies do today to simplify their data culture and actually become more transparent?
It would be relevant and it would be sort of useful for the company to, before they even call us that, okay, we probably need help from you guys. We can't solve this. Like to collect ideas together.
Yeah.
Like, because there are different needs. There's the IT department who is doing their bit and they are struggling with certain things. Then there's the business side and the budgeting and that part that sort of like sets the structure and silos.
Yeah.
And then there's the need for the marketing.
Yeah.
And then the sales maybe compares your business to the competitors and requires some elements. So I think first it should be like something like collaboration within the team, like seeing what is missing, why we're needing certain things, and what could be done.
Yeah. What about ownership in a way? Who's, if I ask this in a very simple way, who do you think should have ownership of the data quality?
Everyone?
Yeah. Shared responsibility.
Yeah, shared responsibility. Of course, clarity, that you know where the data comes from.
Yeah.
Now it's also with all these tools with AI, like with like that can help you, but also can sort of maybe mess up things if not handled carefully. So there's also sort of information that maybe you are not able to find the source.
Yes.
So it's a tricky thing. But I think sort of having one clear system where you collect at least most of your data under one roof, so that you have like one source and you collect everything there. You correct if something, you add things there and nowhere else, because again the manual work will be done, but if it's always based on this preset truth that you have collected from your products, I think that already helps you a lot. Yeah. You are not using the old files from last year or the website that you found somewhere else, but use those, if you can, use the source and check what the source says and collect each bit of information under one roof.
Yeah, exactly, centralized. Yeah. What you mentioned kind of incomplete information, and I think it's probably evident that there are many examples where not all information is available yet or is not perfect. What are your thoughts on publishing that?
Depends on the data that we're talking about. I think you're probably leading towards these like sustainability data that is a bit sort of something that you are expected to show, but you're not sure how to, for example, show it or calculate it, or if you don't have, if you're not sure if you want to share some bit of information, like whether you should show it or not, that should be sort of considered as a strategy then. How you decide to share something that is maybe not final yet. I think this is often maybe something that you're sharing with your retail partners, for example. You have some pre-information that you want to share because you want to sort of already present something. You should share whatever you have. But then, of course, if the information is incorrect, that shouldn't be shared, because then the information might be leading to or fed to already somewhere that no one sort of is there to correct it anymore. So it really needs to be sort of thought how it could be harmful if you share something like that, something that isn't like approved yet. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a fair distinction between kind of incorrect and then incomplete.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, without having like an example where mark is like this, we should never publish beforehand that this is sort of secret information and this is then public information and the official layout.
Exactly.
But as I said, share everything that you have. So in that sense, I wouldn't take anything out unless this kind of
it is unproven
threat that it would be harmful. Like if your measurements are wrong or
exactly.
like leave it out until you're sure that how big your sort of product is.
Exactly.
Just to avoid anything.
That's a very fair request, I think.
Yeah.
As we begin wrapping up, let's talk briefly about kind of regulations and laws which are coming up. From your point of view, how can regulations like traceability laws or then sustainable reporting, which is also regulated to an extent, how can they be turned into kind of a positive driver for innovation?
For innovation, definitely, because as I already mentioned that, for example, with this digital product passport, although it's a sort of a struggle to get the data together, but their new ideas might come up and you're able to come up with also new business ideas from that. So it's clearly sort of like a trigger for new ideas. But I also see all these sort of, not all reports, but basically if you have like a meaningful report or as I said, that if you have a sort of the strategy of being responsible and you have like a way of working towards responsibility, I think that's a really good competitive edge when you're compared to your competitors. Because although we see sort of areas where this is taken very far, but we have business areas and sort of industries where actually I'm surprised how little there is this kind of openness about the products. Maybe the products are thought being too simple. Like, okay, this can't be meaningful to say like, who would care about this? But then if you start comparing, for example, yourself to the next company who's basically doing the same thing and their needles and pins look the same. But if you're making the differences in somewhere else, and somewhere else could be that you're making a statement about how you produced, where your source raw material came from, and how much thought that was taken into doing that. And these two companies both producing pins and needles, might be completely different.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this is something that I've sort of discovered, but this is sort of like the thought that if I was a business owner, how I want to be different than everyone else. And this, I think this is one thing that you can stand out.
Exactly. I think that's a great comparison. Well, what does responsible simplicity look like for the future of retail in the Nordics?
To me, at least, I see it as discovering what is the meaningful, what are the key aspects and core values that we should follow when it comes to certain area, for example. So it is true that there is a lot of regulations or sort of things to be aware of. And maybe the next step then after these regulations have been taken into sort of action, the next step is to how we simplify it. Not to require too much of all of us all the time, so that there would be trust and there would be this this clear transparency, but in a way that we wouldn't have to know all these, what they mean. For example, these responsive regulations and how they differ from each other. Again, coming to the trust to the retailer and manufacturer side as well, that they would sort of do that effort for us as well to sort it out and make a more simple way to look at the sort of facts.
Exactly.
Somehow like that.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Yeah. Nordics is, we are quite, I think, harmonized in a way that we like to sort of be aligned with the regulations, I would say.
Yeah.
Like I would still hope that there would be like a natural way of sorting out those type of tryouts that would not fit to the legal requirements somehow. So I think, I don't know how to make this sort of my thought clearer, but somehow if you mentioned that why Nordic is different from another, we are still quite harmonized. We have many companies that do, for example, work in the Nordic market. So if you want to be successful in Nordic markets, you need to already be following all these regulations quite strictly. Yeah. The harmful business partner will disappear quite quickly, I would hope, if they wouldn't comply to this.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
No.
Nordics do have a reputation, the retailers here in the Nordics, of leading with values and transparency.
Yeah, and also seeking like new ways of doing
Exactly.
things. And maybe the smallish market also makes it easier.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
being sort of quite technically advanced in a way,
Exactly.
So it's a good market to maybe test things out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hanna-Mari. It's
you.
been a real pleasure and a lot of great advice that you've shared with us today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks. It's been fun.
What stood out from this conversation is that product data is no longer a back office topic. It's the backbone of customer experience and a mirror of the company's thinking about transparency and trust. Simplicity in retail isn't about showing less information. It's about clearly, responsibly, and consistently showing the right information. This was Simplifiers, brought to you by Solteq. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe and share it with someone who's ever wondered what happens behind that Add to Cart button. Until then, keep simplifying your digital world.
Thanks for listening. To learn more about Solteq and how they help simplify digital transformation, visit their website, www.solteq.com. Simplifiers is produced in partnership with Solteq by Here Media.